Welcome to 2016. I am Shawn Redman, aka the cheesily named Darth Shawn, and I hope everybody had a great holiday season, both Christmas and New Year's, and got many wonderful gifts and had wonderful times with their families. I got an awesome shirt. Today, we're going to start off this new year by reviewing and talking about the first new canon novel that has come out post The Force Awakens. Star Wars, Before the Awakening. Written by Greg Rucka, who did the Han Solo easy reader in this series, as well as was the main writer on Shattered Empire. So he has done some really good things so far in this new canon, and this is no different. This is a very, very enjoyable read. I think it's very important when people come into this expecting like huge details about these three characters, Finn, Rey, and Poe, to be revealed in this. No, you're not going to get a ton of huge details. You'll get a lot of very interesting small things, as well as what I really enjoyed was the character setting that they created going into the movie, especially in the section of Rey. It's three short stories, one following Finn leading up to The Force Awakens, one following Rey leading up to The Force Awakens, and one following Poe leading up to The Force Awakens. Each of them has good things to bring. Some of them are better than the others. But as a whole, it's a very enjoyable and a very quick read. The first short story in the novel follows Finn leading up into The Force Awakens. And honestly, this was probably my least favorite of the three. Not because it didn't have interesting stuff, or actually it probably had the most background of the characters. It didn't fit as much with the character of Finn we came to know. That just seemed to be my only complaint about it. I thought it was very interesting. It felt very Clone Wars-esque of the way that the Clone Troopers trained. There are episodes of the Clone Troopers training that are fantastic in that series, and this felt like it. You just had a lot of it. But the idea of Finn in The Force Awakens, I just never pictured him as being this elite stormtrooper. Heck, he talks about being assigned as a sanitation worker on the Starkiller base. So I never really thought of him as being this elite. I thought him more being average. Even the novelization of The Force Awakens says when they're studying his file, he is absolutely average. Whereas this seems like he is this elite, and that Phasma thinks he's going to be the best. And yet, in the movie and in the novelization of The Force Awakens, Phasma mentions that there's nothing that would give any signs of Finn being willing to go rogue, or FN2187, going rogue. But in this, it seems like she does have an idea of that he might go rogue, or that she's worried he won't be a stormtrooper, and things like that. So it was a little weird. It felt almost a little contradictory while giving a really interesting story background of Finn and how he interacted with the other stormtroopers. I really personally enjoyed it, but also the reason it was my least favorite is I just didn't feel like it fit as well as the other two did. I'm sure there are ways to make it fit and not worry about it as much as I did. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but as a whole, I just kind of felt like it just wasn't as well thought out as the other two were. But still, it was a very interesting short story and enjoyable. The second short story followed Rey, and I think this added the most to the character of all three of them going into it. My major complaint of Rey is I felt like she was not challenged like I would like my main character to be challenged, especially my main Star Wars character. I felt like she compared too much to the negatives of Anakin Skywalker in Phantom Menace than to Luke Skywalker, and that bothered me a little bit. This story actually would have been wonderful if something like this was in the movie, because she is so talented and amazing at it, but there are fallings and things that she falls short on this. In this story, she finds a entirely intact ship, and her thought process is, I'm going to rebuild it, and I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to be able to eat. And she's able to get the parts together and sell it, and rebuild it, and so she can go to sell it. But her naivety and her inability to realize that other people have different goals allows issues to arise, and they're very interesting character issues, things that I would like to have seen in Rey in the actual movie. The story as a whole is just, it's not an amazing story. It's a pretty, as a short story, it's quick things, but kind of the way Rey interacts and does things, I really enjoyed the story. And I felt like it built up Rey a little better than just introduce this character who is, really, really good at everything, it seems like. And it allowed this element of, she's really, really good, but there are these flaws that we see. And it felt much more like a character that I could relate to. Unlike, as much as I love Rey, and I think Rey is one of the best characters in The Force Awakens, I couldn't relate as well to her as, say, I could Luke Skywalker or some of the other characters, or even, someone like Finn, because it felt like things came too easily. This was one that really helped build that, and I really enjoyed this story. I felt it was really good, really well thought out, and really built up Rey. So when we meet her in The Force Awakens, she's been through this, and now I know that she's been through this, and that helps. So I really enjoyed this one. The final one is Poe's story. And I personally actually think this is my favorite of it. It's not the best background of the character. Actually, you don't really learn a ton about Poe. You do learn that, he worked for the Republic and did some things and saw a lot of the corruption in the Republic, and Leia recruited him. But that's not why I love this. I love this because we got some backstory on both the Resistance, the Republic, and the First Order. And we got just little tidbits, and that's something I'm just aching to learn more about and understand and know how the First Order formed and what the New Republic faded, what happened to it, why did it fail, and the Resistance, what exactly it is. And I got little tidbits, and I really enjoyed kind of seeing what Princess Leia's, or General Leia's, role in the Resistance was leading up, and how she recruited Poe. That was really interesting. We get a little bit on the corrupt senators, and basically it looks like the New Republic went the same way of the Old Republic before the Empire rose and took over. You get that same feeling. And then the First Order, while we don't get much backstory on the First Order, we see that they are, influencing politicians, that they have a lot of extremely powerful forces, and they will use them, which we did obviously see in The Force Awakens. But it's interesting to see that they're actually, it's like, oh, the Republic denies that the First Order even exists, and then they arrive and they're still denying they exist, and that's a really interesting aspect of it. The story itself was enjoyable, and the space battles were fairly well written as a whole, and Rucka does a good job of just bringing us interesting characters to go with Poe. All of them, that's what he does, is the interesting characters that are around these three that we meet, and he does a really great job of that, similar to how he did in Shattered Empire. As a whole, I think this is my favorite simply because of the backstory. All three of them are very enjoyable, though. All three of them have aspects that really enhance these characters going forward, and I really am hoping we get more material to grow these characters, these stories, and give us kind of an understanding going into The Force Awakens. So what did you guys think? Have you read Before the Awakening? Did you enjoy it? Let me know in the comments below. As always, like this video, subscribe to the channel. And I am Shawn Redman, aka the cheesily named Darth Shawn. And may the Force be with you. Always.